Shall I begin?
Do we want to wait, Team Edudevs? Would you want to play any AV? Miss Palak from Team Edudevs?
Yes, ma'am, we are starting.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Hassan Zia, and I am a student of Wilsonia Institute of Education in Moradabad. So, in today's rapidly evolving world, preparing students for the future job market has become more crucial than ever. With technological advancements, automation, and shifting industry demands, traditional career paths are now being redefined, and many future jobs don't even exist yet. This reality calls for a shift in how we equip students, not just with academic knowledge, but with essential 21st century skills such as adaptability, critical thinking, and digital literacy. The traditional education system must evolve to focus on holistic development, fostering creativity, problem solving abilities, and emotional intelligence to help students thrive in uncertain career landscapes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Vaishnavi of class 11th, and I'm the student of the Sonia Scholars Home. Additionally, we must understand that the world of work will require us to wear multiple hats, learn to adapt quickly, and constantly seek new learning opportunities. The ability to work on interdisciplinary projects, embrace new technologies, and stay curious will set us apart in a job market that is ever evolving. Ultimately, preparing for the future job market is not just about preparing for a specific career, it's about developing the mindset and skills to thrive in a world that is constantly changing and to remain adaptable in the face of uncertainty. Now, let's start with the introduction of the panelist. Our first panelist is Dr. Gyanti Singh, Principal of Sanskriti Public School, Gorakhpur. Dr. Gyanti Singh, Principal of Sanskriti Public School, Gorakhpur, is an educator with 24 years of experience, a class 12th chemistry specialist. She conducts parenting sessions, trains CBSE teachers, and serves on CBSE inspection committees. Her contributions have earned awards like the Siksha Padma Samman in 2022 and Vivekananda Award in 2023.
We welcome you, ma'am. Next, please.
Then our next panelist is Mr. Minish Gulati, Principal of Happy Model School, Udhampur, Jammu and Kashmir. The coordinator of Happy Model Foundation, Udhampur, is an award-winning educator with degrees in physics, education, and an MBA from IIFM, Bhopal. As principal of Happy Model Higher Secondary School and chairman of Shibalik College of Education, they have mentored 10,000 plus students and trained 1,500 plus teachers. Their initiative, Happy Anvishika, promotes hands-on physics learning globally.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Next, we have Mr. Ragul, who is an experienced academic mentor at Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, Coimbatore, with over 6 years in teaching and career counseling experience. He guides students in achieving their academic and career goals through personalized counseling, workshops, and orientation sessions. Proficient in technology trends, he conducts engaging sessions on topics like artificial intelligence, robotics, IoT, and renewable energy, empowering learners with industry relevant knowledge. Passionate about career counseling, he develops effective strategies for individuals to thrive in their careers, aiming to inspire and leave a lasting impact. So, welcome, Mr. Raghu.
Our next panelist is Devyani ma'am. Ms. Devyani Kapoor, founder and CEO of Edudevs, Upskilling Education and Edudevs Knowledge Foundation, dedication to empowering educators and enhancing student learning. With over 30 years of experience, she has collaborated with leading education brands, authored CPSC curriculum books with Cambridge Publication, and pioneered numerous initiatives integrating sustainable development goals into education. An alumna of St. Stephen's College, Ms. Kapoor has trained over 1 lakh educators and 50,000 students, driving impactful change across Haryana, Delhi NCR, and Uttar Pradesh. Recognized as iconic Eduneur of the Year 2021 and a Women Led India Fellow. She continues to shape education through her innovative project and upcoming book, Humming Classroom and Notorious Corridor. Over to you, ma'am.
We would
Thank you
now
so
like you to share your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Vaishnavi and Hassan, for introducing all our esteemed panelists. And thank you so much for being part of this show at such a short notice. Really appreciate that. Dear audience and panelists, today's topic, which is become a buzzword of, or a buzz phrase of all the educational corridors, is how to prepare students for the job markets of future. And when we look at the scenario around, we see that as the industries are embracing automation, artificial intelligence, digital transformation, somewhere the traditional pathways to career success are rapidly changing. The future job market will only reward, or probably will only be friendly to those who can adapt to change. Those students who can think critically, who are ready to collaborate across cultures, and more of importantly, who would be agile and adaptable to the changing nature of how jobs and how industries operate. Another triggering factor is the technological changes that are seeping in, and the pace with which technology is evolving is becoming a key critical player in and deciding factor, I would say, in career selections. What the students would need beyond technical expertise, they will be needing traits like creativity, problem solving, emotional intelligence. These will help them navigate the complex interconnectedness of how the workplaces would function. So the question today, preparing students for future, means also then it shows an impact on how our education system is evolving, or rather reimagining our education as, becoming more hands-on, becoming experiential. So one merges technology, as I told you, with real world. These would be the sum total of how the jobs in future, or how the career pathways of future will look like. Coupled with it, when we look at India's policy, we see that we are gearing towards sustainable methods to all industries are adopting. So children will have to have a holistic understanding of how the world is operating and how they are going to adapt to this changing and evolving world. Now, the challenge is extremely clear. It would be, how do we shift from teaching what is known to preparing students from known to unknown, or probably a shift from the art of teaching to science of learning. That would be the order of the day. We know that with AI automation becoming so important, I was reading that one of the Harvard Business Reviews spoke about, and I quote, that about 80% of the CEOs identify workforce capacity building as their greatest challenge. So, what is required is going beyond the textbooks, going beyond the culture, classroom culture. With this, I come to, and without spilling most of the beans on the show, I would now request my audience to come up with the thoughts and insights on my ice-breaking question, which says that how do you see the initiatives of national education policy integrating with this evolving or changing world, or what we probably called the VUCA world? Is our policy or our curriculum aligned to prepare our students with this changing world scenario? And I request Mr. Manish Gulati to first,
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vidyani ma'am. Uh, as you rightly mentioned, NEP 2020 was a great initiative. It's a transformative initiative to bridge the gap between education and the industry requirements. This is for the first time, a policy document talked about making learning as multidisciplinary, focusing on critical thinking, stress on vocational skill development. Experiential learning is a word that came about through 2020. Whether you are a student of arts or commerce or science, everybody needs to have a scientific aptitude towards problem solving, inquiry-based learning. Uh, as far as the policy is concerned, we are Indians are great at policy making. We'll put all the good words, the best of the words that are there. Uh, but there is a lot more that needs to be done at the ground. The policy is right, uh, but how are we moving forward? There would be cases where some institutions are the blossom spots, and there's a bigger India which also needs to be taken together. But policy-wise, we are ready. I think if you look back, uh, maybe 25 years earlier, before this 2020, then I remember that students, my friends, used to go to the US, would be talking about such things where they are undertaking the problems of the day-to-day world when we were still studying the bookish things. It's good. We are now moving on to this very thing. I think I will stop with these initial words on the policy. We are great.
Yes, thank you so much. I think absolutely beautifully encapsulated that what the aspirations of the national education policy is and how. So, just a line here that the national education policy, of course, is kind of reimagining our education system and understanding the need for such skills to be developed, which would be problem solving abilities and creativity, and coupled with the technical skills. But at the same time, the one beautiful thing that has happened, what I feel, is that there are regulatory arrangements in the curriculum. They're trying to make those regulatory arrangements in the curriculum which will transcend this vision into realities. With this, I would want Dr. Ganti to take over the discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I agreed with the Minister. Actually, that policy is really awesome if we implement on a practical level in the schools, because on paper everything is very good. If it is not implemented properly, it's not going to be fruitful. According to this NEP 2020, we have the subject integrations, like all the subjects are interlinked. As we go for art integrated subject, we are having the competency based topics, and the problem solving skill is there, 21st century skills we are talking about. So if all the things are implemented, now it's all comes to the school, like we have to foster all these skills in the students rather than being very bookish. Experiential learning is required as they are going for the job, international job market. We have to work about the practical part. All the things are going on theoretically. If we go for experiential learning, whatever concepts are taught to the children, they should know that practical and application in the day-to-day life. Then this policy is really going to give them the bright future in the international market as well as in the India. So policy is really awesome, and it's only we are the stakeholders. We have to implement in the schools because we have to foster all these things in the schools. So let's try to make the changes and implement all the things so that we can give our student a bright and a better future, and
Well said, Dr.
they can.
Jayanti. Yes, well said. That policy is very good. Dr. Jayanti says that policy is very good, very lofty, very futuristic. But the bottom line is that how much are we able to implement the whole thing within our classrooms? Now, I just before I move on to Rahul and then pass on the baton to my student moderators, I would just like here to comment about there's so much of talk about Finland's approach to education, and I was reading an article where they are so much talking about engaging students in interdisciplinary lessons where the students are exposed to real world problems, and they try and find those solutions to it. And so their whole structure of curriculum is such that it is project based, collaborative, creative learning. But we are talking about all this in terms of maybe the classroom structure somewhere. I don't see it changing. The students still have that pressure of facing one window examination. Unless they break that, we are talking something, but we are preaching something else. So January becomes suddenly that month where everybody goes into hibernation and it's all about exam, exam, exam. We need to, I think Dr. Jayanti has really hit the bullseye. And now with this, I would request Mr. Rahul to speak straight away about, how the our education system is preparing students for the future of job market, and you can always give us the higher ed perspective. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's like all the points are well reached and well said, actually. So before starting with my addressing my question, it's like I just want to pardon with my. It's like my camera is not working, so pardon with my video. So after this introduction of like almost a gap of 34 years, this National Education Policy 2020 has been marked. It has been this paradigm shift in India's approach to education, actually. So we can see this policy aim to address the challenges which we are facing in the 21st century, like focusing on holistic education, holistic development, flexible and multidisciplinary educations, like technology integration and inclusive practices. The policy tries to empower the youth with the knowledge and skills required to lead the nation into the future confidentially. So whereas it's like has ma'am said, it's like we are more focusing on educations like the exam point of view, like we are not concentrating more on the getting practical exposure. So whereas this policy introduces like the integration of this industrial exposures and also academia and industry collaborations, like the key impacts of this NEP 2020 on the few job markets or like focusing on skill development, like occasional training stresses on occasional training, coding, financial literacy, and also multidisciplinary learning. Like the second impact like is like emphasis on creativity and also the critical thinking. So without this creativity and critical thinking, we are not going to find out the new innovations, like implementing this into a more of like in this 21st century, like we have to more focused on this creativity and critical thinking. And this integration of technology. The policy supports this here, this the digital literacy and AI readiness ensures students are prepared for jobs in emerging tech-driven fields, like where you can see this evolution of this AI. Like once after this evolution of AI, it's like we can see how the emotional intelligence and also the interdisciplinary skills are, how it's playing in 21st century. The next one, which is like global competence with the implementation of this NEP and also the flexibility in education.
Right. Thank you so much, Raghu, for highlighting the various aspects and which we all agree upon. I would, before I hand over the stage to Vaishnavi and Hassan, I have a small question to both of you. You've just heard about all of us talking about the policy being holistic and the policy being gearing the curriculum towards vocational training. And of course, not to forget that after NEP, we have the NCF, which is a roadmap for the next 10 years. So we cannot envision it happening now. What changes do you, very, very, briefly, I want, in the last 2 years, say if you're in 12th, then probably you're 10th and 11th, and if you're in 11th, then probably 9th and 10th. What changes did you see, or did you see any change, traces of changes in how your education is shaping? I'm not talking about teaching, I'm not how your education is changing or how your school routine has changed. Yes, Hassan, very briefly. I know this is a question which is bouncer. It was not in the yeah.
Well, I have noticed that in our school, the education level has increased when it comes to practicals, like when we take practicals or just going to the practical period of the school, where where like the frequency of the periods has increased. And not just that, but more classes, more emphasis on music and dancing has also increased in our school and other skills, art. So I think that very well completes the holistic approach of a student's personality. So I've seen that, I've noticed that in my institution.
Very good. The very fact that your principal immediately was very welcoming when we said we want students to participate as moderators
Yes,
on a.
yes.
And I understand that you are one of you is in class 12th, and you have, so those are the things, those are the mindsets that I'm talking about, needs to actually break. And moving on to Vaishnavi, what is it that you find different in your 2 years of, don't repeat what Hassan has said.
Yes, nowadays education is connected. We are connecting the education with art also, as he said. So nowadays we are like decorating the household. So I'm telling this by inspiring our household. So we as a student we are connecting the art with the education. So we are saying that how art can improve our education and how we can learn new things from arts. So basically, so there are so many artists. So I think according to me it's the same practically also. It is developing our education.
Right. Thank you so much. I would urge now the discussion to be taken forward by Hassan and Vaishnavi, and your panelists are there. You may please address
Okay,
the
ma'am.
Manish Gulati, ma'am, and Raghu. Yes,
So I
and me.
would,
if you have.
okay. So I would like to ask, we would like to ask a few questions to the three of you. So beginning with you, Raghu sir, in this, like while technical skills are crucial, how important do you think is emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills in securing future jobs?
Very good question, Hassan. Yeah, obviously this emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills are matter. It's like whereas this is very indispensable in modern workplace. Like if you get into if you get into this industries, like whereas this emotional intelligence will play a major role, like this interpersonal skills will play a major role. Accordingly, with increasing this automation, AI, with this, like intelligence differentiates humans from machines actually, enabling effective teamwork, like leaderships and conflict resolutions. So you can see the employees value candidates who demonstrate adaptability, empathy, and communications, whereas you can't find these things actually in machines. So has these skills foster innovation and workplace harmony? So like I'll go with like institutions must integrate the social emotional learning programs to cultivate these abilities in schools actually.
Could you give an example? How could this be cultivated? Like, any example, or maybe.
Like we can see like this our policies like curriculums are changing year by year, like we are integrating so many like programs which is there added in the curriculum of our schools. Like for example, we can add the psychology subjects like social work subjects, and also where it will talk more about this emotional intelligence stuffs and also these interpersonal skills.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Yeah.
So I would like to ask the question from Gyanti Singh ma'am. So ma'am, the question is, in the evolving job landscape, do you think skills are becoming more valuable than traditional degree? And how can students strike the right balance between the two?
Actually, the skills and the traditional degree, it's not like one is more valuable than over another. Both are complementary to each other. Of course, indeed, that skill is more important because nowadays, if you go to the international market or the Indian market also, the employers are seeing the practical knowledge. They are not judging the candidate by the percentage secured in the traditional degree or any of the courses what they have done. They are judging them by their experiential learning, their practical knowledge, what they can showcase when they are interviewed. And we need, like, all the students are not very good in the traditional courses and the traditional learning. They are not scoring very good some marks in the regular classes, but they have some or other skills, learning capacity better than the meritorious student. So what happened, like, skills are required for those who are not very good in the academic, but some of the courses, like if you talk about engineering, medical stream, as well the lawyer, they need traditional degrees only. After that, after completing the 12th, you need to prepare the entrance. You have to crack the entrance of these competitions, then only you will get the entry to the courses. So both are complementary to each other. Of course, a skill is required because a skill gives you the job exposure more with traditional degree, because nowadays what our education system as NEP will be implemented will have little exposure in that skill, because if you are the 12th or 11th student, you must be knowing vocational courses the CBSE has introduced. And this is only to develop the skill so that child, if he or she is not able to continue the traditional studies, at least they can learn their livelihood, because we never know what is the financial status of the child. So skill is required to survive in the society. But traditional degree, gives you the analytical power. Its skills, upskills are required in that. And if you want to make the balance, like you should have, we should go for the upskilling of the qualities. Upskilling continuously should be there in you. You should have the multilingual knowledge. It's not like if we are
Right.
upskilling
True.
other things.
Yes, and I would like to add here that, when we look at education, so three areas that education contributes is, and today's, which is your number one is your knowledge. The other is the vocational aspect, which of course we see that NEP has integrated. And the third is the technical skill training programs that provide individuals with. So I think it is a happy blend of three. When I talk about technical skill training programs, which are industry specific skills and hands-on experiences, a good blend of all the three: knowledge, vocational education, and technical skill training will enhance your employability. So this synergy of education and skill, that is what I feel. Rest, I think Manish sir will be able to take the conversation further. Yes, moderators. Yeah.
So, Mr. Manish Gulati, sir, I would like to ask the next question to you. With this rapid advancement of AI and automation, what are the key skills the students should focus on to remain relevant in the job market? To be unique, to be more useful than the machines.
True. So, dear, if you go back to say 1988, when the computers just came in, the world was, like today, talking about, computers are going to take away our jobs, and how so untrue it was. That today we are already in a computer world, and computers have created more jobs than they took away, and they made all our lives so much more easy. AI is not just coming; it's already come in a big way, or it'll come in a bigger way in the times to come. So AI is actually multiplying each one of us so many more times. AI is helping us. If you have to search for something over the internet, and you would get a lack of files from which you had to choose from. So it was like searching for a needle in a huge stack of hay. But with the AI, it is able to do that job for us. So we can use our time much more in a better way. So now the question comes that, as a student, what do we do? Some teachers in some schools talks that no, we should keep our students away from ChatGPT or AI. Uh, and there is another group of people who say, no, we need to inform our students and in fact teach them. United Kingdom, for example, has even allowed now, there was a debate in their parliament and they said, no, we are going to allow our students to use generative ChatGPT kind of tools for even doing their homework. But now we are going to give a different kind of a question. We're not going to give those same kind of questions. Since they're going to take help from AI, let's pose questions which generally will not come directly from AI, using of AI, but we will permit them to use it. Uh, Critical thinking definitely would be required. We have to train students to be unique, develop those unique human skills which computers and robots and AI cannot possess. As an example, see, for example, let us imagine that there was AI in 1905. Let's imagine. AI, what it does is it only reproduces the knowledge, brings it out, whatever has been discovered. But AI is not a discoverer in itself. If you had asked a question on quantum mechanics in 1905, AI would not have given any answer. It would have restored to the classical physics ways because computers didn't know what is quantum physics or quantum mechanics. So human beings would be required to, venture into the new pathways. They would be required to be creative, to think, After all, you see, once Newton was asked that has all the physics been discovered? He said, no. There's so much of science on this earth as is equal to all the sand on the seas and oceans of the world. And as of today, we've just mastered or held a handful of that sand, or maybe today we can say a bucket full of that sand. So much more is there to be discovered. And we would need people to work together collaboratively. So when we talk about, working together, emotional intelligence, data analysis, the world is full of data today. But how do you analyze that data? If I give you an example of being a physics person, see how Kepler discovered the laws of planetary motion. His own leader, his Aka. So Kepler was basically a servant to Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe spent, 40 years of his life collecting a lot of data about the skies and the stars and how they move. But unfortunately, Tycho Brahe died even before he could analyze his own data. So Kepler had worked with Tycho Brahe in the last few years, 4, 5 years of his life, and Kepler spent his time analyzing that data. So in this world of huge data, we would need people to have good understanding, analytical skills. They would also need to use AI tools to handle so much of data, adaptability, collaboration. There was time, one topper would be so snobbish. He say, I am the topper. And he would not share things with the second topper. And there would be competition between the second and the first topper. They would hide things from each other. But today, you need to work together. No one will be able to handle all problems on one's own shoulders. Even when you are talking about neuroscience, studies on neuroscience, there are physicists, there are chemists, there are biologists who are working together, and together they are coming out with some results. The Nobel Prize for Physics this year, for example, went to AI. One would say, what is physics got to do with AI? But we're all collaborating and moving forward. So to the students, I would say that learn whatever you like, whatever soothes your heart. Go beyond your study subjects. Learn that is so close to you. Today in my school, I had a student who used to play a lot of video games as a student, and he would be working with his jockey, not very good in studies. He managed to score 65, 70% marks. His mother was also there. She said, I never, really objected to him using so much of games. But he's today, a Air India pilot, and he's got a reward that he does such smooth landings. Those smooth landings he learned, by playing with his jockey as a young
Great.
child. So whatever you learn today is going to be of use to us in times to come. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It's very insightful. And I would just recapitulate what you just said, and I feel that two, three things. One, the students need to, remain motivated, and we need to motivate them to, imbibe a culture of lifelong learning. Because, initially it was computers, then came coding, and then, suddenly ChatGPT has taken over, the AI has taken over everything. The other is, becoming emotionally intelligent is very important. Agility, the agility becomes extremely important, and all the then because agility towards adapting to new job dynamics. Those are the things. And yes, Hassan and Vaishnavi, I think we are coming towards the end of there are only 15 minutes left. And considering that we have another show, I would like you to, proceed a little faster. Yeah. Moving on to the next.
My next question is from Mr. Ragul sir. Sir, what are some of the careers that you believe will remain in demand despite technological disruptions, and how can students prepare for them?
Yes. Like I believe that the careers which will always remain in demand, it's like in at first I'll go with healthcare actually. So with the healthcare, it's like we'll have so many other careers too, which is like in regards with renewable energy, like education, and like you all know, it's like this AIs and cyber security, and also this creative fields like design and content oriented stuffs. So whereas students should focus more on to to get into this career should focus more on the basics and foundational of this foundational knowledge about this all these stuffs, and you have to get that you should have that adaptability and cross disciplinary expertise. Only then you can able to be a successful one in this career. So I'll go, it's like school has to prepare them by offering career counseling, like internship and project based learning opportunities that will align with these industries.
Okay, then I'll ask the next question. This is for Janti, ma'am. So, in today's digital age, how important is it for students to build a personal brand and leverage platforms like LinkedIn to stand out to potential employees?
Uh, today's mm, digital age, like it's a building a personal brand is not an option. I think it became necessity of the time. And the student needs to realize that if we are making the personal brand, the networking opportunities will be open, like the networking with the professionals, mentors, then potential employers. We can connect with them if we are making our personal brand. Even the demonstrating skill, you'll get a platform to demonstrate your skill and showcase your project work, whatever the extra skills we have, we can showcase on that platform. And those who are tech savvy, for them, so it's a boon to work out with that. And if we want to go for that, like students need to realize the benefit of that brand creating that opportunities. Generally, we need to seek for the opportunities when we are making the personal brand on this and leveraging the platforms. The opportunities finds us because we are open on that platform and the personal brand already you have created. So, and networking is better than the prior condition. So we get connected with the people and we can showcase our growth potential even on that platform and enhancing the professional communication also, like as you connect with the many people. So we become better in the communicating. We can convey our things better way on that platform. And this personal brand literally became a very important task for a student. If they are making it, they can get more exposure to the global platform. That's all.
Yes, next question too.
This question is for Ms. Gulati, sir. As the job market is continuously evolving, so how can educational institution instill a mindset of lifelong learning and adaptability in students?
Right. So, as we said, uh, there was a time when, one could say that I am going to be so and so for this life. The jobs are going to change at a very fast rate. And therefore, any profession lasts for a decade is like going to be a good time. Look at the world of computer science. Uh, New languages keep coming up. So the computer scientists, the computer engineers have already learned this, that they can never rest on their laurels. And what they had learned in school will continue to work for all times to come. So lifelong learning and adaptability is has to be there. One would have to, continuously know what's coming ahead. One would have to be alert and one would have to work in that direction. Uh, and when you work in groups, when you work in with association with others, you realize that so much more can be achieved.
Sure.
From the school's point of view, I would say, schools would need to organize new kinds of competitions rather than just the traditional pen paper exams. You would have to have some coding competitions for students, AI-based projects. Ask students to create some chatbots, robotics. It would also be very important that for lifelong learning, that case-based studies, we expose our students to certain simulated cases and we ask them to analyze them. Uh, then digital literacy workshops, so that a student of drawing and art, he has a knowledge of digital tools that are there and he gets into digital art kind of a thing. Design thinking workshops, the project-based learning methods. There would also be need for mentorship, as one job apart from healthcare and other things is teaching and mentorship. This is never going to go away. So teachers would also have to keep adapting themselves, because we would need somebody to guide the new generation coming into what areas to focus on. So mentorship is one area that everybody needs to be focusing on. The growth mindset needs to be there, so that we are always a learner. You're always a learner, and that is what is required in your area. So people would, like we used to have many years ago, there were doctors, and then we had specialists, and then we had super specialists, and today we have super specialists. So the world is trying to become experts in smaller and smaller aspects of something, and
Great.
that is what we would need to be super specialist of our area. One should
Yeah.
be able to say, I am a unique person on this earth to handle this particular aspect. And that is your brand.
And also, I feel that if I may interrupt here, and since I also feel that NEP has introduced a very interesting, the national credit framework, which allows, flexibility, which allows multiple exits and entry points, which allows the student and the school curriculum to have a great interplay of, credit-based learning. So outside, as a school, as principals, as managements, we need to encourage, this kind of trend in our curriculums, make the education more futuristic in terms of online, offline courses. They've become more popular. So children should be encouraged to take, as you were talking about, and teachers should play the role of mentors in guiding them what kind of what are the different avenues to gain skills, to upgrade themselves through skills, to gain knowledge. And yeah, I think very well said, sir. And finally, thank you so much from my side. The student moderators would like to conclude the show. Thank you so much for sparing this time and being part of our panel and sharing such insights with not just us, but I could see there were about 100 participants who were listening to this. Thank you so much. Over to you, my student moderators.
Okay, so we have come to the end of this wonderful webinar. I would just like to conclude by thanking all of the panelists for sharing their insights, their opinions, and to every participant that joined, attended, and stayed with us until the end. There is going to be a feedback form mentioned inside the chat box, so I request everyone to please fill that up. And thank you everyone.
So for your certificates, we would suggest that please fill in your attendance form, do fill in your feedback forms, and thank you, Vaishnavi and Hassan, for being part of this. And this is real learning. This is what is known as, going beyond your classroom teaching and learning and rote learning. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jayanti ma'am. Namaskar, Manish sir.
Namaskar. Thank you very much, ma'am. It's always a
Thank you.
pleasure, working with you, Devyani ma'am, and
Thank
Edudevs.
Thank you so much. And Rahul, thank you so much for being on this show.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.